I now have a sketchy map. This is based on Mosquito Lake in the Trinity Alps of Northern California, by the way. That's why I was so, which I know that basin, that lake basin, like totally the back of my hand. And so therefore, it's real easy for me to know like where this is and where that is. Um,
Hmm.
so in this case, you have entered through a road with a steep incline that's flattening out, and you aren't up to the lake basin yet. You're actually still on the effluent of the lake, which is a pretty substantial creek. It's not a roaring river, but it's a substantial creek. Um, so it's never too deep, but it's a moving body of water and running, and that's on your left. And running along it is the beginnings of the community, the first buildings and some paved areas. Like flagstones have been laid down into plazas and things. It's not too built up, but it's somewhat so. If we look at that village map, we're moving into that outer ring of houses on the left. Um, so anyway, that's the situation. If you look up, you can see that the entire horizon is a very nearby semicircular mountain range. And the only way out in any obvious way is behind you. Like as with most mountain basins, there are different levels. As I say, you would actually have to walk up and around a little bit actually to see the lake. Um, so far so good.
Hmm.
There's and there is a group of pilgrims, about 6 of them, which includes um, Tiru is the name for Lorenzo's character, right? So it includes Tiru. It includes Epu, who is our devotee of the devotee of the lily, and
Yeah.
we also have. I had mentioned that one of the pilgrims was actually coming back. He actually was from this area and has been gone for a long time. And I hadn't given you a name, but that's Imber. You also have the other 2 characters who are Bushi, and I never quite was able to figure out the pronunciation for your character, Claudio. What's his name? It's not Wushi, is it?
Washi.
Washi. Okay,
Washi. Like,
right.
oh,
Gotcha. Okay, so with all that in mind, we will also have. There are several fairly staunch-looking fellows who have walked up with you and escorted you in, with weapons, and one of them who wears the Holy Squad armor is this fellow who just warned Bushi, you know, guys, keep a lid on this, and you guys should be good and go. And then we also have he has not introduced you with his name, however. Also Goosh, who seems to be more of a villager of some prominence, who's been kind of welcoming you and sussing you out a little bit. Um, And I should point out an interesting detail, which is that Tiru is wearing the Holy Squad armor.
yeah.
And it's probably about this point that this dawns on the various people, that have been with you. I mean, the especially the um, especially the sort of soldier types, if that's the right word, who've
Hmm.
escorted you in. So I don't think you're going to be able to conceal that much longer.
No,
So
I don't think so. I
especially
was
because you
wondering
just
about
stepped up.
my
Yeah,
cape.
yeah, you just
You know.
stepped up. I'm going to say the moment you narrated at the end of the last session, right? When you stepped up to Tiru, who's been very prominent, very obviously talking with these people, when you join him, that's when it's clear that you're wearing the Holy Squad armor. When you went up to talk to him. Now, meanwhile,
You
of
mean
course,
when Chiru joins Bushi?
yeah, that's right. Yes, when Tiru,
Yeah.
that's what I thought, but I didn't say that when apparently my brain did. Okay, so anyway, yes, when Bushi was talking to everybody, um, and then Tiru came up and gave his advice, that sort of put Tiru into a "hey, everybody, look at me" physical position. So all of a sudden they're like, "What are you doing with our Holy Squad armor?" And so Claudio, in the meantime, as we may all recall, well, Washi has been tied to a pole, suspended from this pole. He horizontally, he is being, trotted through the village to be taken somewhere by these priest people who had caught you at basically in the water. And so, therefore, that's your situation, and you have called out in archaic ritual language for help. And these individuals, who have a background in the Sky Temple, and you're the River Wardens. Menu, what's your weirdness called? Your
Sky Temple Knight.
Oh, you're the Sky Temple Knight, right? And so
Yeah.
then it was it therefore was Tiru who had some other watery temple background.
River priests.
River
Yeah.
priests, right? God, I gotta write these down. It's driving me nuts.
I'm a water warden, not the river warden.
Priests,
Yes.
river wardens, who clearly are very, very different. And
It's
then,
a water warden.
yeah, that's it. Water wardens, yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then we have the Sky Temple, right? Excellent. So anyway, yes, the Sky Temple person, and basically anybody with a formal background of this kind is going to recognize this. It's basically like he's calling out in
Latin.
I don't know,
Frog
Hebrew.
Latin.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Hebrew, yeah.
Yeah, it would be like he was calling out in Hebrew, basically, is the way I see it from a biblical or Abrahamic perspective. So in that case, that is our situation. Right when Tiru, somewhat hypocritically and perhaps manipulatively, was telling Bushi, to not make a fuss. Now I must ask you all, what do you do, especially Bushi?
Well, what I ended last session with saying, we're gonna just leave, and then I turned to, does it look like Goosh or this other guard is more in charge, or can I not tell?
They're clearly of different. Sectors of authority. Goosh is very much a prominent. Hi, I live here, and I'm kind of an important guy, sort of person. Whereas the other fellow clearly has authority over the activity of these armed frogs.
Okay. So I say, look, it seems that I need to take my pilgrims out of here, because how safe can they be if we're in a town that worships the way of, is it Spoo?
Spo.
What? Spo. Okay. So
the spiders were having a little trouble with that. That's probably why you guys are remembering that. They were confused.
What kind of frogs? I say, you use the name of Spo, but don't follow his precepts. Have you abandoned your covenant with Spo? I've read the Second Chronicles of Us, and it clearly says that you are to treat the simple-minded as if they are tadpoles of Spo himself. And can't you see? You know, I point to Claudio's character, Washi, I think was that your name? Yeah, I say this is a famous village idiot over here. He doesn't know what he's saying, and then I point to Epu, and this one is just parroting, parroting stuff. They don't know what they're saying.
Exclamation mark over Epu's head.
And don't get me started on this one. I point to Lorenzo.
Just checking one detail, but I think that it's very. My character is doing this. If I remember correctly, on the Holy Squad armor, sorry, there is this snake motifs, right? So when he says the toadstool of Puspo, I kind of look back and touch those things, and then I look at him kind of a bit worried.
The offspring of Spo.
Oh, gotcha. I quite like that, actually. So let's see. With that stated, well, there are many things which could be turned into a role here and will be, perhaps with somewhat more teeth in them, because certain things are just reactions that you're going to get. The first is that the somewhat more important looking of the people associated with Washi right now, will hear this and gesture quickly to the others, pointing basically, move this, get this guy out of here, go, and swirls around to come and march toward you guys, at which point the guard fellow is like, oh no. And the and Goosh basically does like a cringe and makes himself small and finds someone he can kind of be 3/4 around, if at all possible. So that's one reaction there. Another is that the soldier guards guys who had escorted you here are suddenly turning on Tiru and saying, wait, that's our armor. What is this? What are you doing? What do you have? What is this? And someone is shouting, a spy. And the priest at the same time walking toward you is saying, this spy we caught. And so everybody's suddenly talking about spies. So things are escalating. The priest is very much in a, seize them all for the glory of Spo, especially that filthy-tongued, wartless, heretic right there, right? So yes, you have definitely made yourself unpleasant, and they have the priest is clearly not interested in letting you guys go. That is not going to happen. And just to add things to the mix, at this point, Epu, provoked, says, I think everything would benefit greatly if we all just partook of the way of the lily right now. Here, let me tell you about that.
Gotcha.
So basically, everything has gone horrifically wrong. I just to be clear, nobody is bounding to the aid of the poor alleged village idiot tied to the pole.
Washi.
Right.
No, I would, but I think we are kind of in a escalated. The situation has escalated a lot.
If you're going to
I don't think I can.
Mhm.
I don't think I can, just say excuse me for a second and leave, because I feel like I have a lot of pressure on me right now.
You could,
Well,
but I mean, you can roll to go do it. I'm not stopping you. Don't diminish your capacity to act. Manu, how about you?
Well, are you talking about helping Washi?
No,
I was
right now. I'm
trying
just
to.
asking you. I'm just asking you. Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Or helping Washi in particular?
No, what are you doing? Never mind me.
Oh, what am I doing? Okay. So things are going south, and they haven't been. They haven't responded positively to my quoting scripture. So I'm going to.
We can leave the ultimate
Yeah.
result to that for a roll if you want. I don't necessarily want to block that action. I'm just folding it into everything else that's happening.
Sure.
Right.
Well, I mean, I would like to see how they react to that, because then my next
Right. Their
move
reaction
will depend
is
upon.
their
Shall I
reaction is
maybe-
negative, but that doesn't mean that we have totally resolved it. You could.
Okay.
In other words, it's a rollable offense, if you know what I mean. I just want to make sure we've got all of the marbles rolling, all the marbles, mentally in place when we do that.
If it makes sense in terms of time, I think my character is responding when they tell what are you doing with the armor, with our armor. So if that's maybe relevant to Manu,
Sure.
I can do that maybe. And when they say that, I point at the armor and I say, do you know there is a guy on the road that is giving these out to travelers? I got it from, I think it was one of yours. It was next to the river.
Okay.
All right.
So
And
again, I'm not discounting anything that anyone has said, and they can all fold into conflict as we roll for it.
Mm.
The question is, what are you doing? What are you shooting for here? What's happening? And
So-
that includes you too, Claudio. Anything you plan to
Yeah.
try to do at this time? Anybody, tell me.
No,
Okay, so-
I'll
okay.
let Manu go first because I think it's more relevant.
Okay, so I see things starting to go south. My main duty is to protect the pilgrims. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume clearly a fighting stance, right? And I'm going to have you know how the samurai, they would put one thumb on the. So I'm doing that, and the other hand is it's going to start to glow with some of my protective magic, right? So I'm kind of trying to give the impression. So I'm
Right.
stay away from my pilgrims.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I'm giving the impression that
I think that's
if
fantastic.
you're okay.
We've got
If
what I now know is the opposition of what the priest wants and everybody's tendency to obey versus you and how you're dealing with that. That's what I need to know. Got it.
Okay.
And your previous speech folds straight into it, right? We're not discounting that. So whether the speech succeeds is now, on the line as well. So we've got that. Lorenzo.
What I'm
Claudio.
trying to do with my answer, I don't know if it's qualified for a role, but I'm trying to draw all the attention possible on me.
Got
I'm
it.
making these, a big thing. I'm pointing at the armor and saying, yeah, you have one guy that is giving these out. I got it from this dude.
Sure.
And
well,
I'm
they
underplaying
were
maybe myself,
inclined.
but-
They were inclined to grab you and maybe get you down with spears at you and ask the priest what to do with you and stuff like that. And that's pretty much what they were going to do anyway. So they're going to be doing that. So the question is whether, and what you said doesn't change any of that. It doesn't actually even oppose it particularly. It rather reinforces it. So therefore, what are you going to do in response to this?
I will try to avoid being grabbed,
that's
stepping
fantastic.
back or
And do what instead?
And I think that I'm trying to, in my evasive maneuvers, move towards the village.
Okay.
Tied to the
Excellent.
road.
And so, Claudio, as to your very not idiotic nor from a village character.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm even able to play the village idiot or
No,
understand what that is.
It's he made something up. He's trying to save you. That's all.
Yeah.
So
I know. But I don't know if I would my character would even play along with that. But
all I'm asking is, what do you do?
Yeah, I was just reflecting loud. So I think what he would try to look if is if there's some moment where everybody gets distracted, and then attempt to untie himself and slip away
Right.
inside of in between of all this madness.
If I ever thought of anything less, if I ever thought of anything more likely to distract everybody than one mouthy heretic insulting Spo and even getting Spo's species wrong.
Yeah.
And another one who clearly has, murdered or otherwise interfered with one of their holy squad. I can't think of anything more distracting than that. So I think I think you're very well, situated, especially because I imagine that the people carrying you were told to move along, and they will. But this is way too fascinating. They are not just turning their backs and trotting, right? This is way too interesting, obviously. So everybody roll.